So welcome to my Get a Life moment for today, where I'm delighted to be joined by Jasmine Wolfe, who is a life and business coach and founder of the Wolfe Coaching Organisation. So hello, Jasmine.
Oh, hello, Lisa. How are you doing?
I'm really good, really good. Really pleased to be chatting with you today.
And you too. Thank you.
So for those people listening, who is Jasmine Wolfe? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, cool. Well, firstly, Lisa, thank you so much for inviting me to Get a Life moment. I'm really delighted to be here. So that's really nice. Thank you. So who is Jasmine Wolfe? I think I'm just going to kind of like go back over the next 10 years and then you can kind of like get a measure of my spiritual business and kind of life journey over the last 10 years, really. So my role is a life and business coach. I haven't always worked in that role. I've got a background in teaching for 10 years. Okay. And then after I left teaching for 10 years, I became a businesswoman and then run multiple businesses. So I have quite a big story, but I'm going to make it kind of a positive story because it is now a positive story, but it wasn't so great a picture 10 years ago.
Right. So thinking back to that 10 years then, so what has been that journey that's brought you to where you are right now in this really positive, as you put it, really positive place with the Wolfe Coaching Organisation? So how did you get from where you were 10 years ago to where you are now then? How did you get to this place?
A lot of trying lots of different things, making lots of mistakes, exploring lots of opportunities, having some trauma, but then learning from that trauma, lots and lots of personal development, lots of travel. So it's a big passion of mine is to travel, and I can do my job anywhere in the world. So 10 years ago, very tragically, my late beloved husband died of an instant heart attack, and I'd been married for about 3.5 years.
Wow.
I remember saying to my best friend a week before, I am the luckiest, happiest girl alive. And then very suddenly everything changed overnight.
And there was no signs, no
not really, no, not really. There was a little bit a couple of weeks before, but nothing kind of like really as kind of horrific that I was due to kind of expect. So my husband passed very, very suddenly, and then I was left running a very large business alone. So I woke up in the morning kissing my husband and giving him breakfast and giving him love and saying, see you later, darling, and all the rest, but not really wanting him to go to work. I'm thinking, I don't really want you to go to work today. I just had this kind of funny feeling. 57 minutes later, I got a call to say that actually, you need to come to his work. His work was 4 miles away. Walked into his premises, and I won't go into the details, but everything changed within those 57 minutes. Wow. And it was tragic and unbelievable, and it took me many, many years to recover from.
Yeah, quite understandably. I mean, we do take for granted those, morning kisses and just having coffee and breakfast, and you never expect that in 57 minutes, as you put it, your life could change completely.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then so I had a responsibility literally overnight. I went from being a wife to a widow to an owner of a garage transport business with kind of like 10 members of staff. So and fortunately I had listened to my husband, which he would be very delighted to hear.
I'm sure he's listening in and just checking up,
Exactly. So so the staff there had they had businesses, they had small children, families and everything to support. So we had to kind of like all pull together as a very tight team.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh dear, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
So we had to pull together.
Do feel free to take a drink.
Excuse me, that's a very good idea. It's my nice orange and water.
I like the way that you just qualified that it is orange and water right there.
Well, I know, because it's a wine glass, but I really like drinking out of this glass. I'm thinking, oh my God, Jesus, a bit tipsy. Anyway, to cut cut a long story short, where was I, Lisa? I've lost my thread now.
That obviously you've got the responsibility for those 10 people, and they were all pulling together in this unusual circumstance.
Yeah, so we had to continue serving the community. So we pulled together, had to get a new a new manager in to lead everything. He was kind of old school. So everyone had their kind of designated kind of roles. And then suddenly I'm finding myself leading this team of people who only knew me as Daniel's wife, and I had another business. So it was a very fast track, if you like.
And quick learning experience. And did you really have did you know much about the garage business? Only just what your husband had told you?
I mean, it was very much part of our lives. If you work 7 days a week. So I knew a lot, but I didn't work inside it. I never wanted to. I always had my own career and my own business. So so I had to kind of have lots of late nights reading, researching, and if I didn't know something, I would kind of ask a member of staff, or I'd ask another kind of professional person or someone who knew Daniel of what to do. And I found myself, and it was pretty horrific, because I was having to learn all this new stuff, lead all this team, and everyone suddenly was looking to me to lead a team that I didn't actually know that much about, only a little, over the dinner table, basically. And I remember thinking at the time, Lisa, one day there's got to be like women in my situation, women and men actually, up and down the country, who are left in this situation not knowing what to do. They're broken
and grieving as well at that same time.
And grieving and not knowing what to do. And I just, in the back of my mind, I thought, one day I'm going to help lots of people out there. I've got a background in teaching and psychology and a little bit of business, but I thought I'll find a way. So I kind of parked that in the back of my mind. Anyway, kind of just fast track a few years. I then sold it after a couple of years and ran it successfully with an amazing team of people, but it wasn't, my heart wasn't in it for obvious reasons. And as a coach, I tell everyone to kind of follow their heart, be authentic, and do what you really love. You can't be anything but yourself, because everyone else is taken.
That's one of my sayings I use a lot, actually. I use that one a lot. You can't be anybody else because everybody's already taken. I use that one myself. You see, we're on the same wavelength.
Exactly. No, it's really lovely. So I then got into property a bit and started kind of like doing up old properties and traveled a lot. I love travel, fell in love with Italy, fell in love with the Middle East, and just and we'd always kind of go off and meet friends and everything, and then come home, do some more renovating, and then I was up a hill. I was actually up a mountain in Scotland, in the Isle of Skye. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I haven't, but I believe it's beautiful.
It is one of the most beautiful places in the UK, I think. And I decided to just go walking. I didn't want to do anything glamorous. I just wanted to walk, be with nature, and really kind of like get myself together. And it was an organised kind of walking trip. There was 6 of us. There was an Irish taxman,
right.
A professor of economics, a doctor, she did something for environmental stuff, a German banker, and a German shopkeeper, and me. So we were all kind of like up together, up the mountains, walking through nature and having an amazing time. But there was lots of opportunities for quiet time and reflection on your own and everything. And I kind of came back to that thought 10 years ago. And I thought, you know what? Perhaps you need to go and regroup and do a little bit more study and actually start your own business. So I left the Isle of Skye, went home, and literally packed up, I was going to put my house on the rental market. I wasn't going to sell it. And then that very day, someone, they want to view the house. And then the same day they said, actually, we'd like to buy it.
Wow. So when something is meant to be, the universe conspires to line it all up for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely. And I was like, wow. And my friends were like, but deep in my back of my mind, I'd always had this thought. So no, I didn't really tell anyone. I just kind of thought, you need to, when you've had a big trauma in your life, you need to look after yourself, be your best self, take care of yourself. And I'd done all the therapy and everything, and I came to a place of some, a healthy form of acceptance, if you like. And I thought, right, it's my turn to kind of rock and roll, return to some study. So I actually did 3 years training in counselling and psychotherapy.
Right.
But it wasn't quite my right fit.
Okay.
And my best friend, she said to me years ago, she's known me like 30 years, she said, you've always been a solution-focused person. You love being positive and coming up and helping people in a solution-focused way. So I then I had another 2 years of training to go, decided not to continue, and just did my coaching accreditation, did my dissertation, finished it, and actually just kind of then thought, I'm going to start my own company, and I'm going to call it the Wolf Coaching Organisation, because one day I want to be able to help all sorts of people and all different ages from all walks of life.
Right. So right from that little seed of an idea that it just was germinating there the whole time.
Yes, it was. Yeah, absolutely. So I did all the, the marketing, the website, got it all going and everything. And I then started, I love I don't know if anyone loves Paper Chase, but I love all my beautiful
I call it stationery porn.
Oh my God, yes, I love that term.
Yeah.
Love a bit. I've always got beautiful pens and everything. They're always in my bags or always around me, just because I like to kind of have inspiration. So I remember writing my business plan to start with on a notepad, lots of different coloured pens and things, and started kind of thinking, well, where do I want to work? I thought, well, do I want to just work in Bath? And I was thinking, I don't want to do that. I think I just want to work in London, and maybe I'll work in other kind of surrounding areas. But at that stage I wasn't quite kind of thinking abroad, but I thought, I just put a little note. I thought, talk about manifestation. Maybe I'll go and work abroad, because I love travel and there's a way I can do it. So I had a close friend in the Middle East and had been traveling to the Middle East for quite a few years, about 7 years, 8 years at that point. And then I thought, I got to a stage last year where I'd been running my business for a couple of years, and I felt like something was missing. It's like, I'm just, this kind of small town is not quite working for me. London is not quite calling for me, but why don't I just kind of go and work abroad for a while and test it out?
Yeah.
And I had an absolutely fabulous time, and I ended up being in and out of Dubai for about a total of about five or 6 months last year, and a month at a time and everything. And it was really great experience. And I mean, I'm very happy to be home right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say, what did you discover by doing that? Because culturally, it's very different. Obviously, you'd visited as a visitor, as a tourist, to see friends, but it's very different when you're living in the Middle East, because it is a very different place, I imagine, to live than in the UK.
Yes, yes, it is, Lisa. And also, firstly, one of the things I really love is I do love the desert. I have a bit of a thing about the desert, so I kind of like the hot, kind of balmy kind of climate and thing. It really kind of suits me. But one of the things when I arrived in Dubai, because I'd always gone to Muscat and not gone to Dubai, is I love being in a cosmopolitan environment.
Yeah.
I love that connection with lots of different nationalities, and just met some incredible people. I met, amazing lady from Lebanon, just people from all over the world, and just who are really inspiring, really smart. They just pitched up in Dubai as well, so we would all just kind of like hang out together, and it was really, really nice. but business wise it's very, very different there, because you have to have lots of very expensive licenses,
right,
to actually be able to trade there. And also I think it's easier to do business with women over there,
right,
kind
okay.
of woman to woman, you know, although sometimes you'd have a meeting with a business and it just wasn't quite the same.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly worldly, and you know, but I do like working with men and women,
Right.
you know. In my book, both people count, both, if you see what I mean. I don't genderize. Yeah.
So then you obviously decided to come back.
Yes.
And you're loving being back in the UK.
I am indeed, yes.
So what's next then? So this whole journey, this last 10 years, really using all of your trials and tribulations and, you know, that whole experience has actually then formed part of the skills, the journey, obviously doing extra study, but it's kind of took you down this road to be where you are now. So what's next? What's next?
Yeah, and absolutely. And that's your perfect timing, your question. Throughout the middle of the pandemic, I kind of read the most inspirational book I could find.
Okay.
And I read The Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning, absolute classic. Yes, absolutely.
Classic. And you'll see how about my stationery porn, I've got all these markers.
A woman after my own heart.
Exactly. And I thought I have to kind of change I don't need to completely change, but I need to tweak some of my habits and mindsets. And I was kind of resetting, if you like, being back in the UK. So, you know, I do, you know, my meditation and you know, got more into my yoga and journaling, and just really, you know, as coaches, we're naturally reflective anyway.
Yes, yeah.
So what's happened is, by very nature of me traveling, my skills, all those that I kind of gained all those years ago running quite a big business, have led me to this point where I've identified a few niches that actually I can work with, and that I have been working with and would like to continue working with.
Right.
So I'm working with a lady in the Middle East at the moment who's taking her whole family, 3 businesses and her husband to the other side of the world in Australia.
Wow. No mean feat. Wow.
No mean feat. And we've been working together on that for a year. And so she said to me, Jazz, you've got to help. She said, you're brilliant at helping expats. You just keep it all together on every single level. So I want to carve out or continue to carve out a niche as an expat coach.
Right.
And then also I've done quite a lot of work with adults who are in a little bit of crisis, who want a career change. And there's, as the world is at the moment, you know, lots of people need support and guidance.
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of want to be a bit of a change agent and inspire adults to make that kind of, you know, the next step.
And so as I'm hearing that, I'm thinking that actually, you know, all of your experience in the last 10 years is now, you know, it's being recycled into exactly what you're doing. So your love of traveling and understanding the difference between cultures and, you know, how to do that smoothly and calmly and with a planned approach. So you're using that.
Yes.
And also, you know, when we find ourselves in crisis situations, as you did, the ultimate crisis situation, you know, as we're experiencing that now, lots of people will need to shift their careers, or they will have had time at home and realize that they don't want to get back on that hamster wheel.
Yes.
You know, you can help them at that point, at that pivot point, to step into their new chapter, as the whole globe is stepping into a new chapter of a new world. So what perfect timing.
It is, it's, you know, there's no such thing as a coincidence, Lisa, is there? It's just, it's, I feel, I don't know whether this is controversial or not, but I kind of feel like I'm having my best year.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I've spoken to a few people recently that all of the you know, tragic side of what we're experiencing aside, if we can put that aside for one moment, actually the personal growth, the personal reflection, the opportunity that it provides us by just having had time to slow down enough to have that reflection and look at where we're going ahead and really truly engage with what's on the inside of us, doing something that is heartfelt for us.
Yes, 100%.
Priceless, a priceless opportunity that we've been gifted. It's sad that it's had to come in this format, but you know, it's a little bit like a wake-up call, isn't it?
Yes,
so
it is.
Earlier on, you mentioned about manifesting and spirituality and synchronicity. How do you meld that into your work?
That's a really good question. Okay, so this might come out a bit clumsy, but then I'll kind of like get to the point. You know, I've always had, you know, a very strong kind of sense of self and spirituality and manifestation and just believing in the universe. It's got me through many things. So when I first started coaching, I remember kind of like being given all these kind of set models that were a bit clunky and a bit kind of dry, and I thought, ooh, this doesn't, I thought, I'm not being myself doing this. And you know, and I would meet all sorts of people and I think, gosh, this is not very authentic, this is not very spiritual, this doesn't feel very organic. You know, you look at different personality types, and as coaches, you know, I mean, in the early days you do lots and lots of personality testing and things on people, but then you get to a stage where everybody is different, and everybody has got their own organic life story, and their journey and everything. And I'm a very nosy lady. Curious, let's call myself curious. And I kind of like I've got to a stage now where instead of I used to work too hard as a coach. So I'd actually kind of like, I'd sit back much more and let the kind of like the energy and the manifestation of what the client actually wants. So the client is always, you're a facilitator. It's the most wonderful, beautiful job in the world to do. And I never, ever take it for granted. It's always such an honor. So yeah, the kind of the manifestation and whatever the client wants, we just work with it. And you know, the sneaky bit of the accountability bit, I just bring stuff in, and it naturally, things just kind of happen. Working and building trust as well is really important.
So it's that deeper level of connection, isn't it? I mean,
that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, one of my values in my value system is soul to soul connection. So it's not, it's kind of getting beyond that surface level, isn't it? To really, so I describe it a little bit like, you know, the film Avatar, when they say, I see you. It's like, I really see you. And it's kind of, I kind of get that feeling with you that it's like, I really connect. I want to connect with my clients at a deeper level that unlocks the manifestation of their dreams and desires. So absolutely wonderful. So it's been an absolute joy hearing your journey, hearing how you've got to be where you are, and where you're heading next after this time of reflection. So before we end for today, as I ask all of my guests, what is your top tip, your top get a life moment tip? You know, we all have those moments in life where we think, I've got to get a life. What am I doing with my life? What is your top tip for life?
You know what, my top tip in life, I didn't know I was going to say this, but it's just kind of like come to me. You know, no matter what is going on in your life at any given time, there are always 2 or 3 things that you can always do. There is always hope. Every single day there is hope. You can always bring joy to people's lives. And you know, and Lisa, you are a beautiful, beautiful example of bringing joy to people's lives every day.
Oh, thank you.
Know, You know, I always see you kind of smiling and enthusiastic and just joyful and elegant and graceful in the way that you come across. And I think to bring joy to people's lives is really, really kind of key. That would be a top tip. And also resilience. I think, you know, in the world that we live in, especially now, whether you are self-employed or whether you're employed, is actually put some things in place to be resilient. I did a seminar last year, and I came up with a little kind of model, couple of little models. One of them was hope, and it was hope, opportunity, purpose, and enthusiasm.
I love that.
And then the other was another model about when something's happened and you need to regroup. It's retract, reflect, and reactivate.
Yeah, great.
So quite a few things.
Yes, there's some great top tips weaved within all of that our viewers and listeners can take away. Well, it's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you for spending your time with us today.
Thank you
on the Get a Life moment. Great to see you.
Thank you so much. You too, darling. Thank you very much. Thank you.